It is game day on Shackelford Road, and the spring sun is illuminating a glorious cross-conference matchup between the visiting Crimson Tide of Alabama, members of the mighty SEC, clattering in to mid-major powers, the Bisons of Lipscomb University. And what a perfect day it is in the suburbs of Nashville. John Freeman and Wes Bowling on the call. And Wes, yes, SEC versus ASUN. Yes, Alabama versus Lipscomb. But no, this is not a story of David versus Goliath.
No, this is not about achieving the impossible. This is about achieving their potential. Lipscomb scores of 9 goals in their last 3 matches, comes into this contest as confident as they have been all season, taking on an Alabama team that has a number of question marks and will be starting 9 freshmen and sophomores today. John, this is really about seizing an opportunity, playing up perhaps in caliber of conference, but also playing into the kind of fashion they want to have toward the end of the conference campaign.
And we were talking to Kevin O'Brien, the Lipscomb coach, before the match. A formational shift today for the Bisons. A 4-3-3 unveiled by the coach. We'll see it in just a moment, but how does that affect today's game against an Alabama team that has not allowed a goal this spring? 3 games, no goals.
I think it does a couple of things. Number one, it sets a firm foundation along the back line. It will spoil a little bit for you. Shelby Craft's going to move up from center back up to a central midfield position to provide some stability there. And that sets the stage for the wings to go do their thing and for Kelly Byler and Molly Grant to get forward as well and create opportunities. And I think Lipscomb's going to come into this not shrinking back into a defensive setting, but trying to burst forward in the final third.
And the Bisons, 9 goals in their last 3 matches. 3 of those 9 goals have actually come off of penalties, though. They've had a knack for finding possession into the penalty area and picking up fouls. And you get a feeling this Alabama team, young but stingy defensively, this Lipscomb team, a little bit older, a little bit more experienced and aggressive. You wonder, is it going to come down to a mistake? Is it going to come down to a PK? We're expecting a very tight matchup this afternoon.
And Lipscomb has been tremendous at forcing those mistakes, as you mentioned. You can't devalue the goals by saying they just came off of PKs when it was Lipscomb putting itself in position to do that. I expect aggressive footing for the Bisons today.
Well, programs that share a state border in this field, and then that's pretty much where the similarities stop. It is resources versus resourcefulness, power conference versus powers of a conference, SEC versus the ASUN, Lipscomb in white, and Alabama in the dark kits. All awaiting the whistle to send these 2 teams into motion. And away we go. Can the Bisons continue their stampede through the SEC? 2 straight wins against teams from the Southeastern Conference. Mississippi State and Kentucky were the victims, spread out over the last 3 years. Bisons attacking left to right. Temperatures a comfortable 65 degrees. Quite the juxtaposition from some of the matches earlier this season in which we were holding our footing, trying not to slip on ice here from our broadcast position.
Perfect day for soccer here at the Lipscomb Soccer Complex. Could not be any better. And early on, you see the long ball seeking Molly Grant, and the Bisons, a statement of intent perhaps. They're fine with being direct and challenging this Bama back line.
And Kevin O'Brien was telling us he wants his wings to get wide. They've got the speed to get after this young Alabama team.
And if they get wide, they open up space in the middle of the pitch, and that's where Byler's been so effective at doing her thing. It's also where Alabama could be a little bit weak. They also like to go wide. They like to get forward, and I think there could be some real vulnerability here from the Crimson Tide if they run those numbers forward, get the fullbacks wide, get the wings wide. All of a sudden, there's opportunity in the middle of the field to break out and then push it wider as you get toward the final third.
Alabama did participate in a fall season that was exclusively comprised of SEC opponents. Won their first game in the conference in the regular season and won the last one. And then not a single victory in between. They have found success here in a spring schedule. And they found success down the flank, the cross coming in, and no one home on the back post. And it did not take an alteration from a Bison, so the first goal kick for Melissa Gray. But nevertheless, this Alabama team, we're trying to figure out just how are they treating this spring. They haven't scheduled a whole lot of power conference opponents. They are young. Some of their main key cogs from the fall are no longer with the team. This match for both teams really feels like something where nobody has anything to lose.
It's exploratory. It really is experimental. For Lipscomb, you know, we were talking with Coach O'Brien before the match. He said there's no pressure on us here. We get to come out and perform against a team from a higher conference. And for Alabama, you get that same feeling. Again, starting 9 freshmen and sophomores, one prominent player down to injury, another decided to move on after that fall season. So question marks for Bama, and I don't think either team is sitting here white-knuckling, feeling lots of pressure. I think this is an opportunity to perform.
And for Lipscomb, they do feel like they have to win their conference to make the NCAA tournament, as Grant has latched on to a beautiful long ball. Options aplenty into the box. And she tried to lay it back for Kelly Byler. And Byler's arrival was tardy.
What a ball over the top from Emily Patty. You want 2 things if you're Kevin O'Brien. You want insight and you want incisiveness. You want the vision, and then you want the desire to achieve that vision. And that's what you've seen with Lipscomb so far this spring. They have the ideas, and they're not afraid, John, to execute, to confidently take stabs like that one.
Just the slightest of winds today at the Lipscomb Soccer Complex, and barely a cloud in the sky. Wes opting with the short sleeves for the first time in 2021.
It feels surreal. I wore shorts around the house yesterday, and it felt like I was missing something. Not bad, though, when it's this warm.
Well, enjoy the only college soccer season that will not deteriorate weather-wise.
That's right.
For all of eternity.
Only getting better as the season turns to spring.
Now back to the point. Lipscomb does feel like they need to win their conference, the ASUN, the conference tournament coming up in April. They feel like they have to win that tournament to have any, well, obviously they would get the AQ, but they don't feel like they can lose a game in that tournament and then still qualify for what is a very truncated women's soccer tournament this year. They don't feel like they would get an at-large bid. So typically this game could mean chances at an at-large as that ball goes fizzing across the box and Gray watches it out. Typically they feel like, okay, you got a good regular season. You pick up some wins against some power conference teams if possible. There's a chance at an at-large if you don't win the AQ from the ASUN. Not the case this year with a shortened NCAA tournament on the women's side. Under 50 teams will qualify.
It's a question of intensity and having to consistently apply that mentality throughout the course of the conference slate, which is why I think playing an SEC team like Alabama, instead of playing down and playing a team in a lower tier, is only going to benefit this squad. They don't get to take a day off from conference play. They're taking a step up and playing an SEC team. And you've seen that confidence, John, early on in those first 2 conference games. 7 goals scored between those 2. They've been clearly the classier team in both of those matches. But you know what? They also lost to Lee University to start the season. Soccer can be soccer, and this match here helps them instill that sense of consistency they're going to need.
Alabama on the front foot. Macy Clem, options in front. Went for the lofted pass to a cutting forward. It was denied by Caitlin Eccles, and the Crimson Tide will reload from the back, but the high press from Lipscomb yielding results with Grant, and she sent Shelby Kraft on her way. Emergency tackle, and a good one at that by Sasha Picard.
Bison's teaching Bama a lesson. You get too many players high and counterattacks can result. That one futile from Clem, from Kraft coming through, but nice combination play from Grant to send her through. And I think Alabama now all of a sudden realizing there are going to be some questions asked of them today.
Throw-in coming in towards Grant. Nicked off a Tide head, and it will be the first corner kick of the afternoon for the Bisons. And already, Katia Hanger strolling into the box as an option. Interestingly enough, Logan McFadden, the tallest player out there for Lipscomb, has elected to stay back. Though the towering figure of Molly Grant does loom in the area. Cross coming in towards Grant. And stashed away as far as Emily Patty. Lofted in, that's a great ball from Patty, arriving on the back post, a chance. And the offside flag was up. And the Bisons showing their fangs early, and they are bothering Alabama with these diagonals.
And that's the second time it's been Emily Patty on the serving end. And that one, even though the flag was up, can't fault her for the tremendous vision, sending that ball into the swirling wind with precision. Aggressive, confident Bison play so far from the back, and that will only result in good things for Lipscomb if they can continue to see and to send the ball in as well as they are.
Wide open first 7 minutes from the Lipscomb Soccer Complex.
And this is a confident Bama back line, we should say. They've not allowed a goal in their 3 matches so far in the spring. They're being tested early on by this aggressive Lipscomb team.
High hanging ball towards Allie Burke. Now Knox, a player that Kevin O'Brien, the Lipscomb coach, singled out when we were talking to him, saying she is their playmaker, she is the star we need to shut down. And she sent an emphatic message to Keamy McGee.
Yeah, Knox unafraid in attack, or as you can see in defense either. Plays at the top of a 4-4-2 diamond in midfield. Freshman from Shawnee, Kansas, leads the team with 3 goals this year, and she's the story really of what Bama's looking to do. Get the freshmen and sophomores involved, gain some confidence, gain some chemistry, and not afraid to bring the lumber as well, as you could see with that hit.
Long ball from Logan McFadden, finding the midst of McKinley Crone, the junior who gets the start today, 12th start of the year. 4 clean sheets, 3 of them coming in this spring season. Kat Rogers at the roadblock of McGee. They bypass the midfield towards Allie Burke. Pump downfield to Byler. Another long ball over the top for Grant. They really want to stretch this back line of Alabama.
Well, when you can do it with the level of precision that Patty has shown with those passes, that's great. The question will be, as they settle into the match, will they try to combine a little bit more and build from the back rather than being so direct and skipping midfield? But I think right now, this is the right strategy. As Bama's playing up, they're playing aggressively, and Lipscomb has a chance to catch them over the top.
Away from Gray. Soaring header from Bella Scaturo, sophomore from Colorado. And an uncharacteristic error from Caitlin Eccles, the senior.
That's the result of a press from Bama. They are not going to allow much space for Lipscomb to operate in its own end, but because Lipscomb is being so direct and skipping midfield, they're forced to sit back a little bit once Lipscomb gets onto the attacking side. 2
programs that prowl the Southeast for talent. Alabama, the majority of their players actually come from Texas. Just 1 player on this roster from the state of Alabama. And they've unlocked Burke down the left side. And lunging in was Hanger. Got a crucial touch to divert the ball over the inline, and the first corner kick of the afternoon for the Crimson Tide.
Hanger moves over to right center back from the left side to make room for Logan McFadden coming in from left back to her more natural left center position. Bama 3rd in the SEC in corner kick frequency this year, and yet 13th in goals.
Ball placed down by Felicia Knox. The freshman pumps it back post. Jump ball. Knotted out as far as Pickard. Reinserted into a good spot. Still work to do for the Bisons. It falls for the volley and a tip save by Melissa Gray. Denying the strike from Tana Corretto. And keeping us scoreless. Fabulous strike, even better save.
The ASUN tourney MVP from a year ago showing why. Tremendous job reading that off the foot. The reaction time is what made that save. Sprawling effort, well done.
Does allow Alabama to reload. Corner hooked in. Gray let it run. Strike on goal goes just wide. And that was Kat Rogers. And the defenders and midfielders for Alabama honing their sights on the Lipscomb goal.
Didn't miss by much as Bama growing into this game a little bit. You have to say Lipscomb had carried the action for the 5 or 6 minutes before that. Now, can the Bisons settle into this match, establish some possession, and begin to dictate what they want to do instead of being so direct? We'll see. if that's what Lipscomb chooses to do here.
Lipscomb went 13-6-2 last year. 2 straight trips to the NCAA tournaments. Alabama building again. It's Burke who's been active. And she has necessitated the defense of Katia Hanger multiple times, and Hanger up to the task again.
Really strong, really consistent, but Lipscomb would love to not leave her on an island, or any player on an island, against this talented Alabama team.
Wave after wave of corner kicks coming from the Tide. Knox's service, it's been good. Another good, tantalizing corner. It's headed out towards the penalty spot and scrambled away with surety by Byler.
Well, those high lobbed corner kicks make you nervous. The ball's reaching about the level where we're standing, and the wind is swirling around a good bit. Once the face of the ball gets up in that, it causes some question marks for the keeper. Center backs have been really strong, though, at making sure the ball's neutralized and Bama doesn't have a clear header.
And Gray's been getting logged in traffic. Oh, how neat footwork that is from Patty, working out of a phone booth.
I think Patty's my woman of the match in the early going here for Lipscomb. Just 13 minutes in, it's early, but the service she's provided, the ability to work the ball out of trouble, she is showing some confident play at that right back spot.
Don't have that woman of the match sponsored yet. Although the hot dog that you consumed,
I was about to say the
concession stand here might need to do some advertising and branch out beyond Shackelford Road.
That was solid. The Beeman dogs, they say, they're famous, and you know what? I can see why. Don't need much mustard on that. Lots of built-in flavor.
5 stars on Yelp, right?
4.5. We'll see. The bun was a little bit stale, but the hot dog was fantastic.
Tough judge, man. Here we go. Lipscomb back in business. About 15 minutes in here. And the Tide, a rare chance to break on a counterattack. And it's diffused by Cammie Rogers. The pass back is poor, and here comes Bama on the run. Numbers arriving. Crashing in is Reyes. And the Mexican midfielder turns her Tide backwards. Clem. Wide is Couture. First touch is heavy. So is the challenge. Shadowed all along by Cammie McGee. And Alabama having a hard time finding a shaft of light in these Lipscomb lines.
Ironically, the reason I think that Bama was unable to break through the numbers for Lipscomb there was because of their respect for Lipscomb's attack. They had all kinds of numbers back to defend against the Bisons, which meant they couldn't amass numbers on the counterattack quickly enough.
Here's Reyes. Slip through. Vincent's. Defender goes down. And tidy defending coming from Eccles of Lipscomb. And the field tilting in the direction that the Tide is attacking. And the Bisons pulling all 11 players back to defend. An incisive ball down the far flank. And the touch did not live up to the service as Jessica Skorka dribbles out of bounds, and the freshman rolls her head in disgust.
Bama's really making hay with those diagonals up the wings, and it's pinning back Audrey and Beck on one side and Emily Patty on the other. 2 players that Lipscomb would love to get forward and get some work done on the wings themselves, but they're unable to join the attack because they're sitting back and having to play defense against Alabama's aggressive wing play.
Clever touch by Reyes, and she continues her run. It is Reyes. Diverts the attack backwards. And Alabama has Lipscomb pinned back. Grant retreating to defend from her lone striker position. They continue to explore their options on the far flank. Cleared to safety by Audrey-Ann Beck. Can feel Reyes growing into this match.
She's talented. The Mexican U20 national had the goal against Montevallo last time out.
And she's only played in one game this spring, not because she was injured, but because she was training with the Mexican women's national team.
What a good problem to have if you're Wes Hart and this Bama coaching staff.
Alabama led by Wes Hart, 5th season in Tuscaloosa. Played 6 seasons in Major League Soccer. Was a top 10 draft pick of the Colorado Rapids. And joined the youth system in Colorado, the Colorado Rush, which is a really prominent youth soccer system, and developed a player that we might know, Lindsey Horan, in that system, and worked his way up the college coaching pipeline. Was one of the key architects in the emergence of Florida State on the women's soccer scene. That wasn't a traditionally strong program, and now they are one of the programs at the peak of the sport.
He's known for being a builder, and he's got a building project right now with this Crimson Tide team. They've lost some key talent from a year ago. They're bouncing back, finished 11th in the SEC with a very young roster, but you can see the building blocks coming together. And in fact, he's even brought in a couple players from that Colorado Rush Academy to Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
And this is really attractive soccer from Alabama. Until the attack was cut out by McFadden. The Tide starting to express themselves with Reyes. Able to pivot and survey. Oh, neat one touch back to Reyes. Emergency challenge from Hanger. How cool is Reyes?
My gosh, that 1-2 combination was glorious, and yet I didn't necessarily see it coming. Don't know if you did, but Katia Hanger did. She was ready for that. Came out of her right center back spot to the left side of the pitch to disrupt it. But man, if Lipscomb continues to rely on these center backs to defend in these last gap situations, they're going to be in a tough spot. They've got to disrupt Bama further up into midfield.
And I undersold the contribution from whoever made the pass. I didn't see who made that pass to Reyes.
I believe it was Knox.
And that is one tough midfield for Lipscomb to handle. Shot from distance, never bothering Melissa Gray.
Breathe a little bit here, Lipscomb. It's interesting because Bama's doing two things, right? They've got the diagonals down the flanks when they want them, but they're also combining well in the middle. And so if you're the Bisons, that's catching you off guard just a little bit. And they've got to force some pressure of their own the other way as a safety valve to release that as the pressure on their defense.
Well, that's an early sub from Kevin O'Brien, not even 20 minutes in. And Audrey-Ann Beck will go to the sideline. And Wes, I'm trying to decipher this shift, and this looks like a formational shift.
Looks like they're going to move McFadden out to left back where she's played the majority of the season. Haley Williams comes in up top. You've got now the central midfielder, Shelby Kraft, moving back to her usual center back position. There was an experiment on today to see how she would do in central midfield. So you've got players in positions now along the back line where they're a little more accustomed to playing, and maybe that'll help them gather some shape and chemistry against this Bama attack.
Will this inject some composure for Lipscomb to go along with their aggressiveness? And well, Patty really is picking out players when given the opportunity. And Alabama trying to fly forward. Got their wires crossed on the far wing. So Kraft drops back at center back. She's one of the best players on this roster. She's one of the best players in this state, in this conference, but she didn't find much of the ball in the midfield. And now she is slotted back at her normal central position on the defensive line, and that should add some stability for this Lipscomb squad in a time where they've really needed it. They've gotten blitz in the last 15 or so minutes.
Yeah, so resetting that just a little bit. McFadden on the left, Kraft next to her at center back. The other center back, Katia Hanger, on the right side is Patty. You know, Kraft has the ball skills of a central midfielder, and so Kevin O'Brien wanted to bring her up and see how she'd perform in that spot. The added benefit is she provides a center back's mentality in that central midfield role, which gives some stability. But I think what we saw up here was a Bama team that was pressing all kinds of buttons and probing all sides of that back line. Better probably to have the consistent approach that you've had throughout this spring rather than experimenting the way Alabama had been pressuring them.
Fresh face in for Alabama. It is Kate Henderson, the freshman from California. Father was a pro tennis player. Now she will explore her options against this retooled defense of Lipscomb. McFadden being trialed at the left back position by Reyes. They found space to operate. And there is the important intervention of Shelby Kraft. And it does yield the corner kick, I believe, Wes. First time we've seen a corner from this side of the field.
Much of what they've done has been down that left channel. Yeah, you're correct. First time they've done it. And the wind will be blowing right, looks like, at the corner kick taker here. Could be a tougher road to hoe than what they've been doing here on the near side.
And Alabama has recruited the left foot of Kat Rogers for an in-swinging corner. Do they have a scripted routine off the training ground? They sure do. That's sent in near post. Well, surely it worked in practice at one point.
Off the training ground, indeed. I wondered if they'd try to get a lower drive out of that against that wind, as it was pretty much a de facto corner from just inside the spot. It's interesting, though, this Bama team, really the attacking strength is not up top for them. They have a two-player unit up there. Henderson, Vincennes, and Burke have been the three to play so far up there for this team. But it's the midfield that gets it going for them, right? It's Knox up the middle, it's Reyes down the wing, and they have been the players who have been so effective in setting up these opportunities for the two forwards in front of them. Just one combined goal among the three forwards, though, playing for Alabama, one goal in their careers.
Crimson Tide explore their options on the near side. Poor pass from Scaturo. Drawing the services of her seldom utilized goalkeeper today in McKinley Crone. Here's Patty. Hung up high by Gray.
Checking in for the Lady Bisons, number 14, Evie Reeder, replacing number 16, Cammie McGee.
And Evie Reeder will come in for Cammie McGee.
One of the most efficient players on this team. 2 goals, 1 assist in just 117 minutes played. Scored against North Alabama most recently down there in Florence in the midweek. Confident player, and what a luxury to be able to bring somebody of that skill set off the bench.
Joust won by Alabama and Allie Burke. Scaturo. Pickard. Sweet first touch from Burke. And nearly slipping through an on-rushing Kat Rogers. A technical Alabama team.
Combined beautifully. Really enjoy watching them play. And once again, it is Lipscomb's central defense who has stood tall. Kraft well positioned there, moving into that center back role, halfway through the first 45 and up to the task.
Here's Reyes. Closed down by Byler. Bama surging forward with Knox, slipping for Reyes, and it falls to Burke. And questions on whether she should have let that run, and now Burke feeling the after effects and walking off an arm injury. The movement of Reyes is causing all sorts of problems, both in the midfield and the defensive lines of Lipscomb.
It's so instinctive. She finds the gaps in the defense so well, and you can't really chalk up where she plays to a singular position as a result. Call her a wing if you want, but she can play centrally. She comes in so well from that position. Really like her game a lot, and there, if she'd been the one to be able to take that shot on her left foot, could have been trouble. Instead, a softer right-footed effort easily saved.
And Patty sliced down. Alabama 4 goals this spring, 4 different scores. Lipscomb 4 different scores themselves, but they've spread out the wealth over 9 goals.
And Byler with 5 of those, 3 of them from the penalty spot. I think it's pretty clear that Lipscomb has found its talisman, as well as a couple of complementary players up top. Bama's still looking for that. That's one of the questions that they're trying to answer this spring. Leading scorer Felicia Knox with just 3 goals. Typically you score 3, you're not going to lead your team. But it's a group that really hasn't found its attack yet. 13th in scoring in the SEC this year.
Ball trickles through, and the Bisons a rare spell of possession on the attacking ends. They link up on the left side, but the flag is up. And an offside on the Bisons. Alabama, an enrollment of 38,000 students. On the other end, Lipscomb, an enrollment of 4,500. We are right at the edge of campus at Shackelford Road. Take us about, what, 5 minutes to walk to the other limits of the campus.
And I have tailgated outside Bryant-Denny Stadium. A 5-minute walk on the Bama campus might get you from the science building to the math building. It's not going to get you edge to edge of that campus. Massive, beautiful place down there in Tuscaloosa, even if I might wear a different color on Saturdays.
It's a turnover in a really poor area, and Alabama storming down that far side. And Kraft cleans up her own error. And the Bisons a chance to break out of their own ends. Eccles. McFadden. Went for an early driven service, and Grant did not make the run. A confident build-out play from Bama.
Very smooth. And, you know, in drawing the contrast between the sizes of the campuses and student bodies, you know, one could definitely make the assumption that there's a difference in program profile, and certainly the SEC is an elite women's soccer conference. But as we discussed in the Open, the difference of these two teams is not necessarily David and Goliath. You see Alabama's quality, but confident defense for Lipscomb.
Oh, this is genius from the Crimson Tide. Some delicate footwork and passing. Every time they get into that attacking area, they tend to turn it backwards. They look for another incision point. Flag is up, offside.
Yeah, they have so much pace on the wing and so much technical skill. I think the one area that's been lacking for the Crimson Tide has also been an area where Lipscomb's been strong. It's the forward versus the center back. The ideas haven't been there on that final touch, and credit Lipscomb for doing a good job denying. It comes down to it sometimes as close as inside the 6-yard area.
Lipscomb program that has really solidified its place as a mid-major power in the last 3 or 4 years. You play this game 10 years ago as the program was being built. This is a 7-0 or a 6-0 or 5-1 type game. And now we are even through about 30 minutes and a foul called. Now where did the infraction take place? Initial indications are a set piece for Alabama just at the limits of the 18-yard box.
Yep, that's how I saw it too. I think that placement is good, right on the edge of the apron there. Still a dangerous place, though, to commit a foul. And this is Felicia Knox territory. 3 goals this season, their leading scorer, a very accurate striker of the ball from just outside the 18, which is where she's going to have a chance to step into this one, unless it's taken by Kat Rogers standing next to her.
Here comes Knox. It's curling over the crossbar. It's a real good look for Knox. And Melissa Gray unbothered. And the Bisons want to build out of their own back. After a pretty even first 10 minutes, it has been all Alabama since.
They've been so crisp in their attack, and Lipscomb has been so pinned back, they've not managed a shot just yet. But I think there's still seeds of confidence that can grow, and they can grow from the back. Lipscomb's center backs have been faithful. Only one real dangerous chance from Bama was saved, unless you want to count that free kick just then, of course. And I think Lipscomb can take that, and they can grow from that and start to establish the same level of rhythm they had early in this match in defense and in midfield.
Kraft's lofted service. It's flicked on. Chance for the Bisons. And not able to get a full purchase on the shot was Haley Williams.
And that's where the chances are going to come from Lipscomb, over the top in situations like that. They had a 2-on-1 there. Grant was there as well and might have had a better read on that ball. Williams couldn't quite get the mustard on it that she wanted. And yet that's where the confidence can come from if you're Lipscomb. That ball's been there. They've had chances over the top all afternoon when they've been able to get possession and look forward and deliver those balls.
And will that moment give a lift to the Bisons?
Ooh, that was slick.
Oh, how silky that is from Kraft. And the distribution as well.
Beautiful back heel.
Can Lipscomb string together a constellation of passes? And so far, the answer is no.
No, but that 10-second stretch there is maybe my favorite today so far from Lipscomb. The back heel to escape, a couple of good passes to combine, and then I really like using Williams as a target woman, Molly Grant too, to try to escape, play down, and then get runners next to them, alongside them. I think that's the key for Lipscomb, to try to break past Alabama and push them back a little bit. And that's going to relieve their defense if they can do that.
Emily Patty jumped the passing lane. Patty back on the ball. Of her rare poor touches of the afternoon. And Clem, who has been a magnet for possession, with the maestro of this Alabama team this afternoon, off her line is Gray. Well, the last game I called for Lipscomb was versus ETSU last weekend. And the scoreline was exactly this, with the same amount of time, and Lipscomb walked into the halftime break with a 3-0 advantage.
The same happened against North Alabama. 2 goals late in the first half there. They're averaging, I think, what, about 30 minutes before they get on the board. Taking their time to feel out the opposing defense and then breaking forward.
When the levees break, the Bisons come stampeding through.
Absolutely.
Far stiffer test this afternoon, though, against Alabama.
Checking in for Alabama,
Team who comes in at 5-5-2 overall and will make a dual substitution. See the figure of Taylor Carter, a freshman who's got 1 goal in 4 games this season. And also looks like, believe on the far sideline, that is Penny Smith.
Yeah, Penny Smith, the freshman, appearing in her 4th consecutive. A couple of reserves coming in with pace, especially Smith along that right flank, as she will join Kate Henderson in the 2-woman top line.
And Manuela Schuick will come in for Lipscomb. Player who's easily identified by the enormous brace, carrying a knee injury and playing through it. And every time we watch or see her walk out on the field with the brace, you wonder just how in the world does she maneuver, but she makes it work.
Yeah, her first time coming off the bench this season after starting the first 4. Tough player and really capable technical player.
Here is Williams sliding it through, flag is up. Well, the Bisons have been efficient in their attacking opportunities, but they have usually seen their advances dissolve with the raised flag of the assistant.
That's the 3rd time that has happened, but I think if I'm Kevin O'Brien, I got my hands raised applauding anyway. Great vision by Williams to spot Rogers and send it through. A good run by Rogers as well, who's also good at serving those balls up. Really a tremendous combination, foiled by the flag.
Under 10 minutes to go in the first half. Hard to believe we are a month and 1 day away. Apologize, a month and 3 days away from the start of the A-Sun tournament.
Season hitting hard and fast, and Lipscomb putting itself in really good early position. 2 early wins in conference play.
Bisons will have another SEC match on the horizon less than 2 weeks from now against Vanderbilt, a team that won the SEC. But if you ask Lipscomb, Vanderbilt has yet to win the city.
That's right, and that's going to be a good game. And Vandy, really, I won't say they snuck up on a lot of people, but they were the 7 seed in the SEC tournament.
Good team.
Got it done. And I remember watching them play Tennessee in that 7-2 match, and I thought the seeds were reversed. I thought it was 2-7. That was a quality Vanderbilt soccer team. Impacted early, I think, by the pandemic, and was able to really pull things together and have a strong tournament run.
They broke your volunteer heart.
They sure did. So did Alabama, by the way. Their opener this season against Tennessee. Really strong performance, beat the Lady Vols in Tuscaloosa. They won the first game and the last game of their regular season. The first one was against my Tennessee Volunteers.
I think I just outed you as a UT grad on our broadcast of an SEC opponent.
Say that like it's a bad thing.
Depends on who's watching on the YouTube stream.
Hello, Bama folks. Lots of respect for your institution. Beautiful place. Great institution of higher learning and strong athletic program, as evidenced by this Bama team, which has put forth a confident display so far today. You have to say they've been the better team, and yet Lipscomb has planted some seeds of hope in their attacking third that make you say, hey, you can't discount the Bisons today.
Ball over the top, drawing the interest of Gray, the goalkeeper. And that one bounces out of bounds. You look at this Alabama team, and you talked so much about their youth. And you also throw in the fact this is just 4th game of a very bizarre season. And here is Reyes. Flag stays down. Reyes continues her run, and Gray plops on the ball. Continuing my point, mostly freshmen and sophomores on the field. A very bizarre season, a very jumbled season. They look crisp. They look sharp, and you just wonder what this is going to look like in a year or two as the players develop even more.
Yeah, I think they have absolute reason to feel very good about what they're building here. They have more freshmen on their team than any other class combined. And this year was not evidence of what they're capable of doing. I think there's going to be a huge asterisk by 2020, especially those who played in the fall season when things were very uncertain, and the SEC did. Yeah, lots of reasons to feel really good about where Wes Hart is taking this program. 11th in the conference, but they planted all kinds of seeds. 3rd most corner kicks, right? They were attacking. The finish just wasn't there, and that's something you can fix. And you're seeing this build up. Well, that's going to result in some absolute riches this year.
Here comes Alabama. Running on is Smith, and policed out by Gray.
And yet it's these Lipscomb center backs again who are positioning themselves well, and they're undaunted by this movement. I think the longer that Bama goes without scoring, the more confidence this Bison back line is going to have that they can contain the Crimson Tide.
And Lipscomb having a hard time breaking this high press. They stayed married to the concept of this short goal kick and building out of the back. And quite often the result has been this, wave after wave of Crimson Tide attacks.
And that's the dilemma you face in a non-conference match in the middle of the conference season, right? How far do you stray from your identity and the tactics that you're looking to hone? I think it could be that you want to play out of the back against a team you know is going to press you with more intensity than perhaps an A-Sun opponent. So you can practice doing it against the best competition possible, as opposed to departing from your typical style, maybe at your own expense, because you're not working on those things that you then want to apply to conference play.
As Kevin O'Brien said, it's all about having his team peaking in the A-Sun tournament. Long ball from Kraft. Reyes interested. Stepping is Patty. Turning is Patty. She's got some delicate footwork.
Such a technical player.
Checking in for the Lady Bisons, number 10, Grace Oliver.
And to close out the half for Lipscomb, Grace Oliver. Interesting substitution. Cammie Rogers coming out. Player who knows a little bit about playing Alabama. Rogers transferred from Auburn. Is there a name for the soccer matchup between Auburn and Alabama? If we've got the Iron Bowl for football?
Where would you go with that? I don't know. I think you have to stick with the iron theme. Is it the
Iron Goal? No response from my partner.
Thinking through how you work that in with a derby and maybe throw some alliteration in there, if you will. The undentable derby.
Oh, gosh. Here we go. We got all halftime to think about it.
Come back with something better in the 49th minute.
Ball over the top. And Schuick not able to apply a touch before Crone, who has really been underemployed this afternoon. And Alabama on the verge of yet another clean sheet for a half. Have not been scored on this spring. Now, granted, they have played 2 Division II opponents, but you can see why. I mean, they've barely given up a sniff to Lipscomb, although the Bisons did have one really good opportunity with Williams. But other than that chance, the ball has rarely been in the defensive half of the visitors.
Lipscomb has opened up some cracks in that back line. It just hasn't been with any frequency. I think they see what can be there. They just have to have more time on the ball to allow those openings to develop.
Ball sticks to the feet of the visitors. Under the foot of Reyes. Can the Bisons find some sort of avenue out of this relentless pressure? The answer is no, and Reyes will apply her own. Lofted in and chested down and spilled just wide by Kate Henderson. When it left her foot, you could hear the gasps. It looked destined for the bottom left corner. And in the end, the result is a Lipscomb goal kick.
She was 5 inches away from her first collegiate goal and just dragged it wide. Good effort to get in the box. And the problem for Lipscomb there was that Bama had numbers. Both forwards were there. The 4-4-2 did its job. It was a 2-on-1 and forced the center back into an impossible position. And boy, just a bailout there as Henderson couldn't quite connect.
And now the Bisons on the run with Schuick. The Swiss international. Oh, she's enriched the attack as she dances down the right side. And the throw in for Lipscomb with about a minute to go in this half.
Yeah, if Lipscomb can keep it in its attacking third for the rest of the half here, perhaps it can get something done.
1 minute.
Just seconds remaining now. Reeder's cross redirected. Back into the path of Reeder. Took a hack at the ball and has won the corner kick. And the Bisons can attack here with impunity. Just 40 seconds to go.
Send everybody forward. Every tall head in the box here, just the keeper back and Kraft back. Everybody else is going to be in or around the 18.
It's a big pile right on top and a save made off the header. Second chance though, Patty reinserted in the header over the crossbar. A jolt of life for Lipscomb. And 2 big messages sent to Alabama right as the seconds ticked down in this half. The final look came from Caitlin Eccles, and she just could not steer the ball down.
And she clapped her hands in frustration, but then looked fired up. This gives the Lipscomb team something positive to take into the locker room. A big moment there at the end of the half.
Well, at the end of 45 minutes, the protagonist was Alabama, but a major plot twist at the end. The Bisons biting back on their home turf. We'll put our headsets down. We are scoreless in Nashville, and we'll talk to you in about 15 minutes. Thank you so much for spending your Sunday afternoon with us on YouTube. Well, a glorious afternoon at the Lipscomb Soccer Complex in a soccer match to complement it. Lipscomb and Alabama tied at 0 goals apiece after 45 minutes and 45 more to go, and maybe even some more. And why not on this spectacular spring afternoon? I'm John Freeman, joined by Wes Bowling. And well, Wes, lots of talk between us and the people in the stands about just where is this match heading? Where is it tilted towards? We saw Kevin O'Brien, the Lipscomb coach, using all 15 minutes of halftime and then some. His team late to take the field. He was arranging players, talking to them. It was a long, long halftime chat for Lipscomb. And what do you think he was imploring his team to display here in the second half, and what changes can you anticipate?
I think Lipscomb needs to take a step up when it comes to speed and when it comes to spacing. Bama's operating more quickly, and they're opening up space, especially in midfield, where it at times it's looked like 11 on 9, 11 on 10 out there. So Lipscomb needs to assert itself, position itself better, and take advantage of the fact that Bama's playing with speed and turn that against them by countering. I think it all starts in midfield, though, with doing a much steelier job of defending this quick-moving, fast-paced Alabama team.
Alabama in their iconic crimson kits and Lipscomb in the all-white. Back underway, about 65 degrees. And I'm peeking around the corner. I think I found the lone cloud in the sky.
Take some searching on a beautiful day like today. It's a sunglass Sunday.
And Alabama immediately on the attack with their irrepressible star in Reina Reyes, who was special in the first half. Player from Garland, Texas, with Mexican heritage, called up to the Mexican women's national team for training earlier this month, and now just making her way back into the lineup here for the Crimson Tide. A player that could very well find herself playing in a Women's World Cup in the future, and could also find herself competing with Logan McFadden, the center back for Lipscomb, who is on the radar of the Jamaican women's national team.
Class all over the field, really, with both of these teams. And you look at what Alabama did in the first half, especially in midfield, with Reyes coming in off the wing, with Knox in the attacking midfield, and then sitting back, Clem so effective in directing that assault. So much talent for this Bama team, and yet Lipscomb's center backs have held strong. Bama only managed one shot on target despite all that effort. They've been a little bit lacking so far up top, and their forwards just haven't quite gotten into the game, and credit Lipscomb's central defense with that.
And Alabama now has gone 7 halves this spring without conceding a goal. Nearly gave up one in the final seconds of the first half. Desperation goalkeeping from McKinley Crone. And then a final shot over the crossbar by the Bisons. Took us theatrically into the halftime break. And Alabama, once again, squeezing the possession stats. The needle has been heavily tilted towards the Crimson Tide, pretty much from the opening kickoff. We were about even through 10 minutes in the first half, and then it was mostly Alabama from there on. Although Lipscomb did reveal its fangs at multiple points on counterattacks and set pieces.
Yeah, the Bisons were most dangerous when they tried to strike over the top, and I think we'll see more of that in the second half, especially if Bama continues to boss possession like they have for the first 2.5 minutes here of this second 45. Lipscomb's going to have opportunities to catch the center back snapping, and when you're a keeper like Crone, who's been up to the task and made a couple saves so far, who's not going to be, though, very busy, I think there's opportunity for Lipscomb to get in behind and cobble together some passes and have some quick strike counterattacks.
Lipscomb finished first in the A-Sun last year, 6-1-1 record. They are less than 35 days away from the all-vital A-Sun Conference tournament. Alabama, well, its postseason fate mostly known and secured, as they know that they will not be participating in NCAA tournament. A at-large bid would be quite the long shot at this point, and no conference tournament for them to gather an automatic qualifier, as their conference tournament expired in the fall with the Nashville team, Vanderbilt, winning it. So for Alabama, a chance for refinement in this spring season, and for Lipscomb, a chance for definition.
Definition for Lipscomb, development for Bama. Interesting that you have the two very different motivations coming into this match. And if you zoom out to the bigger picture of what Lipscomb's all about right now, I think there's a lot of reason for optimism, for hope. 9 goals in their last 3 games, 2 of those coming in conference play. They sit atop the A-Sun table right now in their division. And this match then is an opportunity to develop themselves and gain some confidence, experimenting against a team that has shown clear class and quality, but is answering some questions, as Bama has many themselves. Who's going to step up and attack? Which freshmen are going to be able to contribute and grow into this program? You're seeing those questions answered in real time, and yet none of these questions for Lipscomb are going to define their season today. They're able to come out and test themselves and know that whatever happens, they're back atop the A-Sun when they resume conference play in their next 3 matches.
And the Bisons looking for their 3rd straight win against an SEC opponent. That famous NCAA tournament victory 2 years ago at Mississippi State. And then that was followed by a regular season victory against the Kentucky Wildcats.
No fear when they step up in competition. And here's a fun stat for you. Dating back to 2012, Lipscomb 14-0-2 against teams from the state of Alabama. So a bit of a streak on the line here today.
Is the 2 the loss or the tie, depending on how you do the record keeping?
Tie, 16 unbeaten.
How about that?
First time playing the Crimson Tide, but Auburn's included in there. UAB, South Alabama, some established soccer programs that Lipscomb has been able to foil. It's going on 8 years now since they've lost to a team from the Yellowhammer State.
And a recent victory against North Alabama.
Yep.
In the midweek match, which both teams participated in a midweek match, both in the state of Alabama. Lipscomb was on the road and Alabama at home to a Division II school. Is there a moment of magic in this match? Crimson Tide with almost exclusive possession here, 6 minutes into the second half. Now, for as good as Alabama has been in possession and defensively in this spring season, they have not been very clinical in front of goal. Just 1 goal in their midweek match against Division II Montevallo.
Yeah, I think Lipscomb's going to be content to play this game in their own midfield. You know, if they can keep Alabama from getting inside the final third and combining inside the 18 and creating chances, they're fine with that because they can counter from there. It's when Reyes is getting free along the wing. It's when the fullbacks are coming forward and finding space. That's when you start to get nervous if you're Kevin O'Brien. But I think the half that Lipscomb has played so far, 7 minutes in, this is the game they're okay with playing. They're going to cede possession. They will not win the possession stat today. That's not their goal, though. Their goal is to counter and to create quick strike chances from that defensive posture, and I think the chance is there to do that.
Neat triangular passing from the Crimson Tide. Launched downfield by Hanger. Let's see if Lipscomb can gain control of possession. And they'll have a throw in from that far wing. Okay, so we saw Kevin O'Brien maneuvering his players almost as if they were chess pieces during halftime. Literally lining up the defensive line in the midfield and positioning the players as he walks them through what he wants them to do. Much more composed here in this second half, much tighter lines, and Alabama having a hard time finding crevices despite having the lion's share of possession.
You've seen those passes go laterally and backward as opposed to those incisive diagonals that Bama was throwing forward in the first half with almost impunity. the center backs have had a much easier time for Lipscomb. They've not been relied on for that white knuckle defending they had to execute several times in that first 45.
Well, Lipscomb did show some venom in the first half with set pieces, and they've got one here. Hung up into the cloudless sky, bouncing around dangerously. Kraft went stabbing in.
Nice job.
And Kraft has dampened the clearance, taken over by Beck. Pumped back in by Kraft. Downloaded in the midfield by Eccles. Grant. One back. And now Alabama will expand.
Well, if you're of Kevin O'Brien, you're probably of two minds on set pieces like that. You know that those might be your best chances to squeeze out an opener. And yet, you don't want to commit your tallest players, your center backs, forward necessarily when you're booming one in from midfield. You saw McFadden sit back, Katya Hanger stay back. Two of the tallest players did not run forward.
And Lipscomb has won the ball back, and they set sail on a counterattack. It's Grant, the wobbling shot, easily claimed by Crone. Now, Wes, in the first half, Lipscomb made a substitution. They took Audrey-Ann Beck out, and they put Shelby Kraft from the midfield back into the center back position. Kraft is now back in her roving position in the midfield after the halftime talk from Kevin O'Brien.
Well, I think that was probably what that 15-minute chat was about in positioning, was making sure not that they needed to switch back to positions with which they were more comfortable, but hey, let's test ourselves in this new look. Let's see what we can do, and here's how we tweak that versus throwing it out. So you saw him dispense with that about, what, 20 minutes in, but not permanently, just to give himself a chance to reorganize things at the halftime whistle. So far, it's paid off well, and I think it sets them up better because it gives them a more stable structure. Having a center back with central midfield ball skills and Shelby Kraft playing up, and then she's able to connect really effectively moving forward. In that case with Grant, who had the best chance of the day so far for Lipscomb besides perhaps that corner kick toward the end of the first half.
And Kraft has the engine to perform this role. Player who came in and broke the beep test record, which is the fitness test used to evaluate the player's VO2 max and cardio ability, and she broke the test. Essentially, she broke the record coming in, and she said she could go even higher. She wasn't feeling well that day.
Jeez. And it's an experimental spring for Lipscomb, so lots of stalwarts are going to sit a few minutes. She's the only player on this Lipscomb team to go every minute so far for the team. It's not a matter of will she play, it's where.
Here comes Williams, poked along towards Kraft, who's won the ball back. The Bisons work out of a tight area. Williams spills it wide to Grant, who had ventured out to the far wing.
But that's much better action, right? Combining, setting up triangles in your attacking third. Lipscomb didn't do much of that in the first half.
And Lipscomb has brought in a player on that far flank, and it's Olivia Carpazza, freshman from Florida. She is now lining up at the right back position.
Second career appearance for her. Father is a Major League Baseball umpire, so vision runs in the family.
So also just deciphering all this tinkering from Kevin O'Brien. So Carpazza has taken over what we assume is the right back position, and then Emily Patty has slotted over to the left midfield position after playing the first half at right back.
So your center backs are McFadden and Hanger. Left side, Audrey-Ann Beck. You mentioned Carpazza on the right.
Can Alabama unlock this retooled back line of Lipscomb? The edge of the penalty area was Burke. Cross coming in, claimed by Gray confidently.
But I would argue that Patty was the best passer. Good vision moving forward. When she's playing on a fullback spot and playing back, she's not able to really execute that vision as well as when she's playing forward. So I like moving her out of that right back spot and seeing what she can do. Clearly, she has seen the cracks in this Bama back line better than anybody else on this Lipscomb team. So looks like Kevin O'Brien's giving her a chance to execute that in a more proactive role.
I'm all turned around of who's playing where. It looks like Patty now is lining up in the central midfield position.
Yep.
While Kraft is pursuing like a lone forward.
She looks like she's almost playing a free number 10 role, right? She's playing back in defense, but then roving forward in the attack and combining with Haley Williams up there. And then you've got Byler playing her typical number 8 role, but in defense, she looks like a second forward.
It's fascinating tactical maneuvering by Kevin O'Brien.
I like it. I like the positional flexibility that he's showing here. I mean, really, when you think about it again, you know, while Lipscomb wants a result out of today, that's obviously the goal. The bigger picture is seeing where players can ply their trade at different positions against high-quality competition. So to that end, might as well tinker, right? It's one of 2 matches against SEC teams this year where he can really see what they have to offer, and he hopes that this is a test that they'll come back to maybe in an NCAA tournament if all goes well.
Does Lipscomb have a striker right now? Honestly, I don't see anyone lining up in the striker position. You've got Grant retreating all the way back to the corner flag to defend.
Using her height there and ball skills.
You might have Byler playing a false 9.
She's the highest up on the pitch next to Williams, who's not a traditional striker. Does play forward, but more of a wing. I think you're right. I don't think there is a classic number 9 in there right now.
Didn't Spain win the World Cup without a striker?
They did. Beautiful, beautiful system. And that's what they did. They used that positional flexibility, quick passing, and instead of confusing their own players, it confused the opponent, took them off guard. Del Bosque, right? The famous Spain manager.
I don't think that ended well for him, though.
Well, it never ends well for them eventually, right?
True.
But it was a good run while they had it. Del Bosque translates literally to "of the forest," and perhaps he got lost the forest for the trees there eventually in that Spanish tenure. Nonetheless, I do like the idea. I think, you know, you're seeing a lot of these Lipscomb players being put forth in their secondary positions. We saw it to start the game with Kraft in central midfield, and she's back there now. And it's a chance for O'Brien to say, hey, go prove yourselves. And perhaps secondarily, let's give ourselves some backbone against an Alabama attack that's been fairly dominant today.
Even on this set piece, Lipscomb maneuvering around and the players communicating and pointing to each other where they want their teammates to be. Grant running on. Can she manufacture a corner kick here? She has produced the throw in for the Bisons right in front of their own bench. Can hear the instructions from Kevin O'Brien. Lipscomb desperate to find a corner kick here, and they have, well, no, goal kick for Alabama. We've seen this so much, Wes, in our time calling Nashville Soccer Club games. We're the radio crew for the MLS team. We see it so many times. A Nashville team that bends and bends and bends and doesn't break, and then a set piece or some sort of jumbled play, and they nudge in front, and then they bar the doors and lock it down. You get a feeling if Lipscomb were to win this match, that would be the blueprint.
That's it. And Nashville SC does something so well that Lipscomb is starting to show signs of doing here in the second half. They play such steely defense, such disciplined back half play that it flusters the other team. And, you know, Bama had the bulk of the ball, but just one shot on goal in the first half. It's beautiful chances but didn't execute. And eventually that's going to wear on a team. And that's what Lipscomb's looking to do here. And you're right. Then you're setting yourself up for a counterattack, for a set-piece opportunity. Because soccer is not necessarily a game where you have to be the superior team. You just need to have superior moments. And Lipscomb is setting the trap right now with just 27.5 minutes to play. This is anybody's match. And you've seen that Bama attack waning in confidence too.
Reyes took a swipe. Went underneath her boots, and now here is Kraft linking up with Byler. White shirts flooding forward. And the pass leaving much to be desired. Past the outstretched leg of Molly Grant. He's been a frustrated striker here this afternoon, and really cool, composed back line of Alabama, both with and without the ball.
Byler had 3 or 4 options on that pass. I think she chose the right one, but none of them were tremendous options because, as you mentioned, Bama recovered very quickly. It looked for a second like it could be a 3-on-3 opportunity, but Bama sent an additional central midfielder in to defend. Nonetheless, it's daylight in the attack for Lipscomb, and that's a plus. That's improvement over what they saw for the bulk of the first half.
And look how deep Lipscomb is now. Back to defense, and Reyes exploring the limits of the pitch. Byler was the highest option. Did well to earn the free kick. So is there a way through this back line of Bama that has been tremendous? Got Macy Klim offering protection right in front of the center back pairing of Tana Corretto and Sasha Pickard. And here is Pickard. That little extra piece of armor in Klim. Been hard for Lipscomb to find an avenue through in the middle corridor of the pitch. Most of their success has been on the flanks.
Now, I think this match ends up getting won in the midfield too. I think it's whoever can generate some space in the middle of the pitch, and perhaps even overlap and combine, because neither groups of forwards have been particularly involved today.
Well, this is some sort of set piece setup. Alabama has brought its goalkeeper, McKinley Crone, up to take this free kick inside the offensive half, and that's why a wonderfully sent free kick, drawing the best defending from McFadden, who had to soar high to repel it, and then a handball on the breakout on Scaturo.
Well, in addition to that being a display of confidence in Crone's placement, and that was a nicely taken kick, perhaps it's also a show of confidence or even complacency that Wes Hart has, that Lipscomb's not going to strike back over the top with the degree of quickness that would catch Crone out. I think Lipscomb can take that as a bit of a shot across the bow. They've played well this half. They've seen more of the ball. And if they can strike over the top, again, they have chances.
Bama on the run. Crucial intervention from Hanger, who's been up to the task every time she's been asked this afternoon. Here's a back post ball. Gray's got to be sure with this. Two fists clearing as far as the edge of the penalty area. Taken back over by Skorka, rolling inside. Reyes, back post, and sent wide. A gift-wrapped opportunity. The goal was gaping, and it was Kat Rogers who steered it into the side netting. And she will rue it all the way back on the bus ride to Tuscaloosa if Bama can't find a victory this afternoon.
Rogers, one of the most experienced players on the pitch for Bama today. The wing has been known for her efficiency. 6 career goals and 8 career starts. She had an eye for goal, and right after she struck it, before it even struck the side netting, her head was in her hands. Let's talk about Reyes too. She's been incredible today. She could have turned, and she had the angle on the shot as well. But you can't blame her for seeing the wide open teammate back post and sending it her way. And that was the moment for Alabama.
And will this give Lipscomb lift? Kraft trying to run through the entire Alabama team. Kraft continues forward. Kraft goes down. Would have been a lot to ask for a whistle from the referee. And now this game blown wide open. Back and forth they go.
Both teams expressing themselves, and we've asked the question, where is Kraft playing and why is she playing up so high? Well, that's why. In a game like this, you need your warriors, and she showed some toughness there before going down.
Lipscomb lurching forward. Cross coming in towards Williams. And sure-footed again from Pickard, who has been superb. Halfway point of the second half. Combative, cagey. Other adjectives you'd use to describe this one?
I think it's growing in intensity. Yeah, it's tense. It is. And, you know, I think when you have an ASUN team going against SEC, this is what you want if you're the ASUN team, right? This is what you want if you're Lipscomb. Muck this game up. Make it physical, tight.
High hanging ball from McFadden. Grant. Still Grant. And the cross forces a corner kick. Knew exactly what she wanted and got it.
You can feel the momentum building in Lipscomb's direction. Waves of confidence injected into this team since the halftime whistle. Now, will that pay off with a deluge here in front of goal?
And for the first time today, Logan McFadden has stormed into the penalty area and got a little bump from an Alabama player on the way. Corner coming in. McFadden attacks. Ball's loose. It's Grant. Well, she double pumped on the shot. And she lost her opportunity.
She was unmarked and I think might have had too much time to think about what she wanted to do with that ball. The half volley unsuccessful. Her eyes were big.
Lipscomb on the front foot. Williams. Wrestled down. Reclaims her balance. And the final result is an Alabama throw.
Checking in for the Crimson Tide, number 21, Taylor Carter, number 27, Sid Vincent.
So substitutions for the road side. Sydney Vincent's in, a player who's scored a goal this season, the sophomore. And Wes, the other one for Alabama. Did you catch it?
Yeah, Taylor Carter coming in, midfielder. So an attacking midfielder, and then Vincent's a forward, as I think Wes Hart wants something a little different from his team in the attack. He's not seen much of that possession-oriented style here in the last 5 minutes as Lipscomb has come into this game. I think Wes Hart looking for some different answers to the questions that Lipscomb is suddenly asking.
And every set piece for the Bisons, they are treating as a prime opportunity. Lashed in and headed down and out. Hanger. McFadden. McFadden again. Well, Lipscomb can't turn the ball over here, and Beck, first to it, had to be there. And Carapazza does the best she can, retreating all the way back to eliminate the possibility of a corner.
Confident play, quick thinking from Beck as she had perhaps Alabama's most dangerous attacking player right on her heels. Did a good job clearing that exactly where it needed to go.
Under 20 minutes to go now from the Lipscomb Soccer Complex. A day and a game that has not disappointed.
Checking in for the Lady Bisons, number 3, Cammie Rogers.
And substitutions aplenty for Lipscomb. It is a double Cammie substitution, Rogers and McGee for the Bisons.
And Grace Oliver in with them. So 3 aggressive players, 2 of whom have started a lot of matches for this team this year.
And it's a lot of speed as well.
Well, I think Kevin O'Brien's seeing what we're seeing, right? Lipscomb is gaining in confidence and starting to think about what it can do on the attacking end instead of just trying to defend, and keep Alabama's chances neutralized.
It's Carapazzo with the strong challenge. Actually, I apologize. That's Grace Oliver. Her first involvement coming off the bench. Stabbed away by Kraft. Strong work from Byler. Can she send a teammate down the near sideline? It's really smooth defending from Skorka, just to slow the progress of McGee.
If Bama wins this match, it will be because they finally figured out how to break down this tenacious Lipscomb defense. If Lipscomb is to win, it's going to be an opportunity like that. Over the top, using that speed on the counterattack. So I really like the idea. I think in a normal match against an ASUN opponent, you want to build, you want to take your time, you want to compose your attack. Here, Bama's giving you the door to go down the pitch quickly on those counters. Might as well take it.
Corretto, unfiltered cross. Reyes was lurking. And did that touch a Lipscomb player? The answer is yes. So a corner kick for Alabama. It is their 5th this afternoon. And how about this, Wes? Lipscomb had played 4 matches coming into today and had only conceded 3. 3 corners in 4 matches.
2 whole games without conceding a single one. But this Bama team, that was never going to happen. They had 3rd most in the SEC this year, but rarely converted.
Comes the corner kick. Byler had a chance at it. Loose in front and whistled wide by Macy Klim. Could have been an exclamation point on a superb performance from the holding midfielder for Alabama. And she has laced it just wide of the post of Melissa Gray.
The left-footed half volley couldn't find the target. Give Lipscomb credit, though. They were also well positioned there and never gave her much of an angle to find the upper 90. It was going to take a pinpoint strike to find the target from there.
Klim reloads. Reyes, who's been frustrated. The touch not up to her high standards. After a sparkling first half, Reyes has been neutralized here in the second. But Klim starting to find inroads. Carter. Back foot shot and easily seen out by Gray.
Bama's eyes are growing in the final third. That's now 4 shots this half for them compared to just 1 for Lipscomb. But still, they've only found the target once. Only 1 shot on target. Dealt with no problem by Melissa Gray. You mentioned Reyes, though. Sometimes the better you are in a match, and yet the more futile you are, the more frustrated you get toward the end. Reyes, incredibly talented player who's on the radar of the Mexican national team, the senior level eventually, perhaps. Has had all kinds of opportunity but has been foiled, and now I think this is a test of their composure as well as they seek to break down this Lipscomb team.
One back by Byler. Room to roam. It's an early service off a Bama defender. And Byler trying to reclaim, combining with Patty and Kraft. Oh, how nicely done that is from Cat Rogers. And here comes Rogers, sending Vincents down the left side. Big collision and a foul on Lipscomb. The flag stayed down. The official took a look over, wondering about offside, and it will be a free kick in a prime position. And Alabama has just substituted in Felicia Knox just seconds ago. And she is their set piece taker.
She is their star striker. She had a chance from almost this distance, maybe about 3 yards further in and a little bit closer to the center of the field in the first half that she just sailed wide. Perhaps that was a heat check for her. Now she's going to have a chance to dial that in. Good defense, though, by the Bisons to come interrupt that chance at the last minute, or it could have been much worse in real time.
Melissa Gray has requested a colossal wall. 5 players wide. And now reduced to 4. It is Knox standing over. Her shoulders drooped, and her teammates ready to crash the goal of Gray. Low and driven from Knox into traffic. It's a good idea. Just threw it into the blender, into a wall of onrushing Crimson Tide players. And none of them could apply the finishing touch. It does lead, though, to the 7th corner kick of the afternoon with just 13 minutes left in regulation.
It was Macy Klim who found the touch. They like to find her in these situations.
Can Bama find the breakthrough?
There you go.
Strong header from Byler, igniting a foot race on the far side. Ball stays in play. It's Knox trying to weave her way through. Oh, and Knox just went down awkwardly and back up quite quickly.
Yeah, classy move there, by the way. Want to pinpoint that. Emily Patty went back and helped her up and made sure she was all right. If there's a more confident player on this pitch than Shelby Kraft right now, although I'd like to see her. The dispossession on that play. Physical, but very clean. She is not fearful. She's trying nutmegs out there. She's trying back heel passes. She has been tremendously entertaining and effective for this Lipscomb team today.
And we asked Kevin O'Brien for a player that reminds him of Shelby Kraft at a higher level, so a household name, and Julie Ertz, the core player for the U.S. women's national team, who started her career at center back, but now just plays pretty much like Kraft does, up and down the middle of the pitch. Big engine of a player, and the flag up and offside. Yeah, very similar players, although Kraft's built a little bit smaller.
Well, the biggest lie that I've told today is on my spot chart here, having her listed as a center back. Yeah, technically, it's where she often starts, but she can play in central midfield. We've seen her the highest player up the pitch at moments for Lipscomb. She is a roving talent, a box-to-box midfielder, but also has the
center back.
I was going to say, but with the stability of a center back, she really is a Swiss Army knife for this team.
Strong work from Henderson. Rogers. Knox, a fabulous freshman. Skorka. Return to Skorka. And repelled by Kraft. The highly technical Byler. Launching an inquiry on the right side with Rogers. Brave goalkeeping from Crone.
Come on, get back down here. Thank you.
Foul goes on Alabama.
I love the questions that Lipscomb is asking. 10 minutes left. This thing's scoreless. And the Bisons recognize that they're probably not going to have a Barcelona-style opener here. They're not going to string together 25 passes to get their goal. They're going to have to go over the top, and they continue to test that back line, test the keeper in this case, making her come off her line to come get it. I think it's keeping Bama just off guard enough that they can't string together the passes they want to put together to get their opener.
Foul called on Lipscomb.
Every call.
Looks like a 50-50 incidental contact situation to me.
Not many fouls in this match. How many is that? Our 19th. So I guess I was wrong. Not any crunching challenges, that is.
Yeah, nothing too terrible. No cards, but nobody committed more fouls in the SEC this year than did Alabama. Not beneath slowing down an attack by reaching out and making a physical play. But nothing's been consequential. It's been a smooth, pretty crisp match. A little choppy in midfield from a possession standpoint this half, which is exactly what Lipscomb would like after Bama looked really seamless, John, in that first half. The space just really has closed up for them.
Less than 9 minutes to go in regulation.
Come on, come on, come on.
Do have the ability to extend the match into overtime if needed. No stoppage time either. So a hard deadline now of 8 minutes and 25 seconds for regulation. Do feel like, obviously, this would apply for overtime, but even now, next goal wins.
Absolutely. Absolutely. As tough as it's been to find opportunities in the final third for both of these teams, and as demoralizing as it would be, I think, for the other team that concedes.
When you look back at the story of this match, could very well be 1-1. Both goalkeepers producing special saves. And now here comes the artillery for Lipscomb. After receiving a brief spell, Molly Grant back in, along with Haley Williams. And Alabama doing the same. They had rested their playmaker, Reyna Reyes, for just a few moments. And they have also brought back in Allie Burke.
The first 83 minutes of this match have felt like a pleasing build-up to whatever's going to happen in the final 7.
Ball over the top. Grant was running on, but just a step behind. And Crone has been a confident goalkeeper. Plays very high out of her goal mouth.
Yeah, she has some Neuerisms, if you will. She's not afraid to come out off her line. They use her on free kicks too, set pieces inside their own end, or their attacking end, that is. She has a good game. She's a veteran, by the way. Played at Oklahoma before transferring and was top 10 single season for their program history and saves before transferring to Alabama. So they have a gem at the back.
I mean, even now, she's 40 yards outside of her goal mouth. Oh, neat cut by Byler. Nearly finding the pass through for Grant. What an idea it was from Byler.
Sasha Pickard stood in the way. Without that raised boot, Grant was in.
And now McFadden with work to do. Pestered by Burke. And did she touch the ball? She did.
Right foot barely grazed it right at the last minute after she did such a good job shielding the attacking player for 5 yards.
And can Alabama finally knock the ball down, knock the wall down on a set piece? They've been close on corner kicks. Some real mesmerizing service from Knox. And we'll see if she can provide another well-worked ball into the penalty area.
Watch Macy Clem back post here.
Now they have brought over another player in Kat Rogers. Here it is, lofted in. And over the head of the intended recipient. And slammed to safety by Eccles. Oh, neat first touch by Reyes. And now Knox linking up left side to Burke. And the cross let her down. What a touch that was by Reyes, though.
In many ways, that sequence defined what today's been about for Alabama. Just beautiful play at the edge of that attacking third. Tremendous combinations, and then the final service or the final ball lacking. In that case, the cross off target. But Reyes is pure class. She and Knox and Macy Clem, when they combine, you see what this program is going to be built on in the future, and it looks really solid.
Here is Clem with Reyes to her right. Elects to go to the far wing, and Alabama builds with Knox. Tried to filter it through to Reyes, and now the Bison's a chance to move. The effervescent Kraft denied by astute defending from Bella Scaturo. Under 5 minutes to go. Both teams looking for the breakthrough. Both teams looking for the winner. Skorka. Reyes.
It's like a hand there.
Reyes continues her assault into the offensive end. And there's a foul going on the Crimson Tide.
Assertive play by McFadden. You know, whatever this match ends up being, wherever it takes these teams, I think this is a Lipscomb team you can confidently say who knows who it is, even when it's not had the upper hand in the attack. The Bisons have been so assertive in defense. They've not been afraid to step forward and interrupt the Bama attack, particularly in the second half. I think they will have gained a ton of confidence from this effort.
Lipscomb thrusting numbers forward. Grant the first to it. Muscular work from Kraft. And Kraft back in. Oh, that's got to be off the hand of Reyes.
It's the toughest spot on the field, I suppose, for the referee to see that. She was shielded. The assistant's over here on the other side of the field, but that's a couple of grazes of the hand by Reyes that have gone unwhistled.
And Lipscomb would have loved a free kick.
That would have been a massive
right from that position.
Absolutely.
Frantic finish here to regulation. Clem. Long ball chased down by Vincent. Can she get there? She cannot. maybe one last good chance for either of these teams in regulation.
Yeah, as open as this thing has been, and as tight as things were right before halftime, certainly don't want to count anybody out. But it seems that Lipscomb has exhausted Bama to the point that the Crimson Tide are virtually out of ideas in their attack. The Bisons have been capable of going over the top. Perhaps they're able to pull something off here in the final 110 seconds.
Down to a minute and a half. McFadden. Bison's blossoming. Beck. Pass Grant. And a second chance at it. Reclaimed, though, by Burke. And now can Alabama win it here? Here comes Rogers. Back for Burke.
1 minute
Clock
remaining in
strikes, 1
regulation.
minute remaining. Hopeful service, knotted on frame. And Gray may get credit for a generously scored save.
She could, but I'll tell you what, she and the Lipscomb back line deserve credit regardless of what the statistician says there for the job they've done frustrating this Bama attack. Nothing has changed about the Crimson Tide's ability in midfield. They're still combining elegantly, but they just don't have that killer instinct in the final third, and credit to Lipscomb for continuing to deny them and fluster them in their attempts.
Just 25 seconds now, dividing these two programs from overtime. And surely that appears to be our destiny.
Checking in for Alabama.
And the clock continues to tick on this substitution, and that sub
10,
effectively
9,
kills off
8, 7,
this second half, and
5,
Alabama
4,
still has
3,
yet to concede a
2,
goal in
1,
this spring season.
0. Score at the end
And
of
they've got more
regulation.
defending to do,
Bison
and
0,
perhaps
Alabama 0.
the Crimson Tide on their quest to find a winner. Where will this match go? Just who will take this one this afternoon? Overtime on the horizon on a gorgeous afternoon in Nashville. We'll put our headsets down. We'll recover for just a moment, and then we'll talk to you in a couple minutes as we get ready for sudden victory overtime. Lipscomb and Alabama. The breakthrough would be the winner. Will it come? We find out next. So here we go on a picture-perfect afternoon in Nashville. 90 minutes of soccer, not enough to find a goal, not enough to find a winner. And we dive into the first of 2 overtime periods whose conclusion is unknown. Not a guarantee we'll find the end of them because 1 goal in this match will be the last one. John Freeman, Wes Bowling on the call. Overtime, sudden victory, Wes, Alabama and Lipscomb.
On the warmest soccer day that we've had so far this season, it's going to be a challenge to go the distance. Lipscomb trying to get a result off an SEC squad, did not allow a shot on goal in the second half. They're brimming with confidence now, and I think it's 50-50 as to who can win this match.
Now the Bisons are attacking away from the sun. That is now in the eyes of McKinley Crone, and they send the ball through. Crone off her line, and she stays sure-handed. Now she has been getting acclimated to the sun. These are the same sides that the teams attacked in the second half.
But chances like that are how Lipscomb finds that golden goal and wins. It's diagonals and through balls straight forward into the teeth of this Bama defense, whereas the Tide are going to try to build and try to find something in the final third that they've been lacking so far today.
Reyes nearly finding her way through. Oh, it trickles through, and Gray off her line, and Gray down in a big collision. It was brave goalkeeping from Gray, the goalkeeper. She took the brunt of the challenge that came in from Allie Burke.
And that was a relatively reckless and ill-timed attempt by the attacker. And believe
Apologize,
me,
it was Henderson.
Henderson coming in, yeah. And I'm certainly not assigning malice. There's no indication that was malicious. But just a little bit late and a little aggressive for my taste, coming in with the 2-footed tackle into the keeper, just trying to get the ball, just trying to score. But a couple of boots, it looked like, to the body of Gray, who's had a great game today, and hope she's able to get up.
Now this is a massive moment because Gray has been sure-handed. She's been Lipscomb's starting goalkeeper for the last couple matches, and she may not be able to go. Now she's up under her feet. The reason why there's no trainer out there is if the trainer comes out, a substitution is necessitated. So that's why Gray had to refuse the medical attention so she could stay on the pitch.
It's an impossible situation for a keeper to be in. Gray, extremely tough. Really glad to see her back on her feet. CJ Graham, a capable replacement, has a win under her belt this season, but boy, just not something you want to ask any keeper to have to do.
Over the top, the ball for Grant. And patrolling her penalty area, as she has done all afternoon, is McKinley Crone. And here come the Tide at the feet of Scaturo. Hounded by the pestering Byler, who has been a menace in the middle of the pitch. And one of the creative forces for Lipscomb as well.
5 goals in 3 matches. She is a catalyst for this attack, but today she's been asked to sit back and be a little more stable in defense, and she's answered that call really well while still providing that threat where she has the pace to be a target over the top if Lipscomb is able to take the ball away.
Corretto's cross was met by Hanger, and Byler just tackling Clem. We didn't love the challenge from Byler. That's a good matchup there. Clem has been awesome, and Byler has been up to the task too.
Those are the 2 strongholds for their respective teams. I think it's easy to say. Clem and Byler, the hearts of their clubs. I'd put Kraft in that category for Lipscomb as well, but I love the physical challenge. It was clearly a foul. Good whistle by the referee, but I really like seeing these teams start to scrap here in overtime.
Can Bama find the breakthrough? Knox. Still Knox. Oh, how sweetly done that is by the freshman. The cross coming in towards Reyes, and Bama has won it. The Crimson Tide stays perfect this spring. And it's Reyes with the final touch. The first goal of the game is the game winner.
And your final score
And
is
Reyes had
Alabama
been
1,
asking
Lipscomb
questions of
0.
this
The
Belmont
Vikings will be back on the
defense
field this
all day
Thursday
long.
for a conference matchup
94
versus the
minutes in,
Flames.
She
Right here,
ends the
Lipscomb
match
Soccer
with a
Complex.
resounding
Kickoff is
statement.
scheduled for
A
6
sure-footed
o'clock p.m.
half volley into the back of the net,
Lipscomb
and you have to
Bisons
say
visit
it,
Lipscomb
Gray
Scores
had
dot
very
com.
little chance to catch that one. Reyes, the player of the match all afternoon, ends it for the Crimson Tide.
And the work from Knox made it all possible. Well, the Bisons will lick their wounds. A strong performance against an SEC opponent. Lipscomb falls to 3-2 overall. The result does not affect the goal this season, which is to win the ASUN Conference and make their way into the NCAA tournament. For Alabama, their spring season continues to blossom. Their 6th win of the year going back to the fall, their 4th of the spring. And how about this? Alabama in 4 matches has yet to be scored on this spring. Wes, your final thoughts before we sign it off from the Lipscomb Soccer Complex.
Well, first credit to the Crimson Tide for continuing to build something in Tuscaloosa. They didn't have the season they wanted, but they knew that was always possible with the number of freshmen and sophomores they have on the roster. So credit to them for coming here and getting the job done against a Lipscomb team whose aspirations, John, I would argue, have never been higher after a match like this. All they wanted to do today, regardless of result, was to continue to gain confidence against a team from one of the best conferences in college soccer. Nobody can deny they held their own today against Alabama, and despite the loss, they will return to 3 straight in conference play, knowing they can play with anybody. And again, they're at the top of the table in the ASUN and have every reason to have faith in their future.
Well, it was a wonderful afternoon of soccer at the Lipscomb Soccer Complex. Alabama gets the victory over the Lipscomb Bisons. I want to say a big thank you to everybody involved in our broadcast today, our whole crew, alongside Wes Bowling. I'm John Freeman saying thank you so much